Yep.
Okay. Number 1, solve each equation by completing the square. Step 1, move the constant. This is what we did yesterday, yeah. Yeah. And remember, there are 3 different reasons to complete the square. This is the solving. And on your review assignment, there's also the vertex form and the circle. So we did notes on all 3 of those yesterday, but this is one of them, and they're very similar. It's just like, what is the purpose is what's different in each one, but they all have move the constant, complete the square. So p squared, negative 18p, so this is going to be negative 9p in each box. That makes sense so far. Okay, and then p minus 9 minus 9. So the constant is 81. Yep. Okay, then factor. One 11 is weird. That's okay though. Square root. Okay, weird question. 111, is it prime?
Maybe.
1, 3. Okay, but there's still no twins, right? So it's just 3 times 37. Okay. I'm just going to put it over here because it's notes. Okay, and then remember, put the 9 in front so that you get a quadratic formula style answer. And we did not need to simplify this because there were no twins to circle and cancel. What's wrong? Oh. Any questions about number 1? Anyone listening? Anyone here? You good with number 1?
Yes.
Okay. Number 2, write the vertex form equation. We're given the vertex and a point. Vertex is HK. The point is an XY coordinate. Okay, do you have that memorized? Okay, be super careful with your negatives. Get that 10 out of there before we do some illegal combining unlike terms. Okay, so what is -5 minus -8? 3. Real quick, you guys all see why I have +8 here. Super important. Because it's a minus minus, yeah. But this one's a horrible, disgusting repeating decimal. Oh, crap. It's not a horrible, disgusting repeating decimal. It's a good number. It's never a good number. That's so weird. Nice. Now I'm just gonna. That's so strange. Do you remember, like the ones we did were just horrible? It was like 56 over 5,600. It was awful. 5625 or something. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, maybe you're the best. Oh, hey, in sixth period we were also talking about how you're the best. Yeah. What was because okay, so Julia Trump sits right there, and she was talking about how like all of you guys are her friends, and you guys sit at the same table for the same class, and it was really cute. That's all. That's cute. I'm sitting on the bench doing nothing. Okay. All right. So here we go. Even, odd, or neither. This is confusing. So we need to slow down a tiny bit. What's wrong? I didn't even do. I just moved the paper. Okay. So f of x, f of -x, -1 times f of x. If I were you, I would make sure to have those 3 things listed on my note card because that's something that I would blank on a test. So just like first column, second column, third column. Okay. The regular is just writing it down the way it is. Okay. And then for the -x, please listen. Now is not the time to not listen. You're going to put -x everywhere that there's an x with parentheses. So I have -x to the 4th minus 3 -x squared minus 4. So both of my x's in my original became -x's. And now I'm going to count negatives to see if they're negative or positive. So this one has 4 negatives, which makes it a positive. How many negatives does this have? Nope, 3, which makes it a negative. And oh no, satisfying already. These two match. Still going to do the last bit for practice. So -1 times the original, and make sure to put the original in parentheses so you can distribute. Okay, now when the first two match, it's even. Okay, now what you're supposed to do is check the graph to see if that jives with your even answer. Okay, and when things are even, they're supposed to have reflection symmetry on the y-axis. Does this one have reflection symmetry on the y-axis? Yes. Okay, then lastly, it's going to ask us to provide the end behavior. And to remind you, the top arrow is the left, the bottom arrow is the right. So what is my left arrow doing? It's going up. And what's my right arrow doing? Going up. Okay, scooch over. Okay, so I wrote my three things. I wrote the original. And then I replaced the two x's in my original with negative x's with parentheses. Okay, how many negatives are right here? 3, so it's negative. How many negatives are right here? 3, so it's negative. Okay, so those two don't match, which isn't really shocking if you look at the graph. Did you guys already get the spoiler alert from the graph? Okay, so -1 times the original. Distribute. Nothing matches, so it's neither. Okay, now I thought it might be odd. The reason I thought it might be odd is because the biggest exponent was an odd number. However, to be odd, it needs to have 180-degree rotation symmetry about the origin. What's the problem with this one? It's not going through the origin. Okay, now don't forget about end behavior. So the top one is the left arrow, which is going down. And the bottom one is the right arrow, which is going up. And behavior just clicked just now. And the really good thing is, if you know how to find end behavior from the picture, you don't need to write them down from your parent graph summary. You just look at the picture. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to write any of those down then if you just know left, right, up, down. Okay, second page. Okay, this is a rational function. We're going to just sketch it and talk about what matters here and what doesn't matter here. They're named on the blue sheets. Yeah, it's a fraction. Okay, but we learned this in chapter 1, technically. But anyway, so you go x minus 2 equals 0. Okay, so you have a vertical asymptote at x equals 2. Okay, and can somebody explain to the class intelligently why there is a vertical asymptote? What about mathematics makes it so that there is a vertical asymptote at 2? Yes. Beautiful. I could not have said it better myself. So if x is 2, it makes the bottom 0, and you can't divide by 0. Gorgeous. Okay, next one. You look at the number on the end. That's your horizontal asymptote. And the reason for that is because it's a shift down 1, so that's a transformation. So I want you guys to think right 2, down 1. The domain is everything except x can't be 2 because of that whole divide by 0 thing. The range is everything except y can't equal -1. And that's also because of the divide by 0 thing, because that's what you would get with the dividing by 0 for the y. Okay, and then this is really important. Do you see the negative here? So normally our rational functions are in the top right and bottom left. Because of the negative, it's going to be in the top left and bottom right. A is 4, which means it's vertically stretched by a factor of 4, but it's completely impossible to graph that with a hyperbola. You're supposed to make it tighter to the asymptotes, except for we make it tighter to the asymptotes anyway. So ignore the 4. And done. Okay, number 2. Graph each equation, identify A, H, and K, and describe the transformations. Okay, so A is -1/2. H is +4. Really careful, +4. K is -1. And H is +4, so that means I should say shift. I should say it properly. Shift right 4. Shift down 1. Okay, so what I want you to do is go right 4, down 1 for your vertex. So this is an absolute value graph, which is a V shape. So let me pause. Does everybody understand where I got A, H, and K? And do you understand the shift right 4 and the shift down 1? Okay, so now how do we graph this and what do we say is the next question. So when it's a negative, yeah, okay, so we got to say two things. Okay, the reflect across x-axis is only for the negative. You don't have to say it if it's not negative. Okay, what do we say if it's a fraction? Yep. It's actually vertically compressed by a factor of 2. Okay, now the next question you have is, how do I graph this thing? And what you do is you treat A like a slope for these because they're V-shaped. So you go down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2. And then you can see that vertical compression. It's getting squished wide. And then down 1 over 2 in the opposite direction. And then there's your V. Okay, any questions about number 6? 20. We're doing good. Okay, number 7. Write the equation of the graph and identify the domain and range. Okay, so we're going to do this in little baby pieces. First, what is this type of graph? What type is this from your blue pages? Yeah. Radical square root function. Okay, what is the general equation of a square root function? Okay, now the endpoint is HK. So that's -5, 4. And then what I need you to do is find me an XY coordinate that's nice numbers that's on the graph. Yeah, so what about this guy, -4, 2? And this should feel very much like the one that we did the second problem we did in the review notes where you plug in and solve for A. What? I just found another nice point that was actually on the curve. And you don't have to use -4, 2. You could use -1, 0, it looks like, or 4, -2. Yeah, any of those will give you the same answer in the end. Okay, so 2 equals A square root -4 minus -5 plus 4. Square root of 1 is 1. Are you guys with me so far? Yep. Okay, so now we write the equation. Y equals -2 square root x plus 5 opposite, yep, minus 4 outside, plus 4 outside, plus 4 outside. Look, I almost made a mistake in my own review notes. Okay, so that's the equation. And now what we're going to do is use our graph and our endpoint to find the domain and range. So can you guys tell that the x's are going that way? The -5. And then the range is going from 4 to -infinity. So y is less than or equal to 4. And the two numbers in the endpoint are always the two numbers in your domain and range. You just need to figure out the alligators. The solving for A stuff. So you just, okay, so the thing is, you figure out what type of graph it is, like what shape. Then write the equation from that and figure out what HK is depending on that particular graph and another point, and then plug it in, solve for A. It'll go. Okay. Last one. Start with a table. Remember to make a spot for 0. I'm a little nervous about these numbers. They might be terrible. Count the B's. 3 B's. Okay, now make sure that you know how to do the roots on your calculator. So okay, and remember, if you're using one of these types of calculators, the math button is where the cube root and the x root are located. Oh. No. That's fine. Okay, so find A. A is whatever the start is next to 0. And then A, B to the X. Okay, next thing I want to do is I'm going to put up the test topics and walk through them and make sure that you know what the words mean. Okay. Can we see that? We can see this. Kind of. Next test is a week from today. You can use a note card. You cannot use your blue sheets and a note card. So if you want stuff from your blue sheets, you're gonna have to put it on your note card. And a calculator. If I were you, I'd probably put like the little sketch of each one and then their equation, like the AHA thing. It's like that's probably the most important thing that, you know what I mean? You guys can figure out end behavior from the way the graph looks. You can figure out domain and range from the way the graph looks. I wouldn't spend my note card on that thing. So like a little sketch of what shape and then the equation that goes with it. So I'd be like, parabola looks like this, y equals a x minus h squared plus k. Yeah, okay. So the first two are multiple choice, completeness, square, and even, odd, or even. You know what those are? Okay. Getting a transform, graphing a transform graph, any from the parent graph summary organizer with A, H, and K, and describing the transformations. So left 6, down 5, vertically stretched 5, whatever. Okay, next. Given a graph, any from the parent graph summary organizer, find the locator point, domain, range, and end behavior. Create a combination box plot and histogram, find the median and IQR. This requires you to know how to use the calculator if you're going to do the calculator for that. If you want to find the notes for that, it was in 1 dash. Oh, it was the last section we did in chapter 1. What was it? What was the number? Anybody? Just flip through your notebook till you see the giant histogram. And then the calculator buttons are right underneath that. If I were you, I put the calculator buttons on my note card for sure. Also, there's a histogram and a box plot in the review assignment, so you have to practice it anyway. And writing the vertex form of an equation of a parabola given the vertex and a point. So that's HK, XY, plug it in, solve for A, write the equation. You guys all know how to. And it's specifically a parabola. It's telling you it's a parabola. Just like the one on the quiz. Okay. I just want to note the statistics stuff is a 5-point question, which is a lot of the test. So don't ignore that. Yes, you could go. You waited the whole time. You could go too. It's your prize for waiting the whole time. They waited the whole time. And there were probably horrible people in the room. That's why they couldn't go before.